This car has a bit of history. So was Eleanor's car. The miles and miles of roads this car has been on. Now here it sits. So Eleanor MG is going to get back on the road. This is a 1977 MGB model. 4-cylinder engine, 4-speed transmission, 2 doors, 2 seats. It's a small little roadster. It's just fun to drive. This car sat in the barn for 31 years. I'm going to tell you what it took to get it started again and on the road. Got that old car machinery smell. You know, you bring an old car like this home, you don't know if you're going to get it started or not, and if it's going to run and what's going to happen. Sometimes you might have a gut feeling just based on the look of it, sometimes the smell. My approach was to take it easy, inspect everything, get a list of parts that need to be procured, items I need to service and repair, and work on towards getting it started to see if the car will actually start, and then it will run. And once I get it run, can I get it to stop? 1977, flashback. We're talking the age of disco. Resurrecting the car from idle. Yeah. Let's pop top and see what she's got. Let's see what we got here. Clutch, hard brake pedal, fuel. Let's put them through gears. Whatever was in there. Fan. 189 miles since something happened. Oil pressure, inlet of fuel. Anti-fog. Ooh, map. Where was this thing at? Rags. Must be a leak thing. Got that. Whoa, we have registration. Eleanor. Well, Eleanor, we'll take care of your car. This was Eleanor's car. She's driven it miles and went places and who knows where. Eleanor MG. To honor Eleanor, I'm going to get the car back on the road. Up the boot. It's going to come in handy. Sheet metal, floor mats, windshield wipers. It stinks like
chemical properties of gasoline degrade after 1 year. Shelf life 3 to 6 months.
Old gasoline. The plan was to do a jack stand inspection of the car, lift it up, pull off the wheels and inspect the tires. Take a look at the brakes, a visual of the entire car, the chassis, the underbody, exhaust, mechanics, the springs, shocks. What's actually broken, what can be replaced. After all this inspection, take a look at all the components and systems. What were some of the obvious problems I saw, things I needed to address right away? What can I just get away with just to start the engine? How deep am I going to have to go into this thing? And what will it take to get the car back on the road? Well, getting the car running involved a little sleuthing, a little detective work. First, I'm going to examine fuel and fire. Fuel meaning the carburetor in this case. and fire the ignition system, both the primary and secondary. Fuel and fire. Well, when you hook up the battery for the first time in 31 years, you don't know what's going to happen. In this case, I hooked the battery up and I heard tick-tock, tick-tock. The clock on the dashboard was running. No sparks, but there were some brittle wires and there was a couple relay issues. They were just really old and tired. I was going to examine, adjust, and replace the parts I needed to get the engine started. I was going to adjust the valves and do the static timing of the engine. A couple shots of oil down the cylinders, roll around, get everything lubed up. Like hand cranking it over as each valve was opening and closing, using the feeler gauge and getting the tolerance where it needed to be. I'm going to static time the engine after the valves are adjusted. Go through the primary ignition system. Think of it as 12 volts coming from the battery to the coil. Pull the distributor. Check the vacuum advance. And this is when I'm going to change the points of condenser inside the distributor. So when that 12 volt breaks that gap of those points, we're going to have that power going directly to the coil and charge it up. Brand new spark plugs. Think of the secondary ignition system as what's coming out from the coil, through the spark plug wires, to the plugs themselves. Carburetor looked pretty good. It was going to get spray cleaned, pulled out, looked at, just examined. I didn't want to open it up or mess around with floats and everything else. Just see if the fuel would go through it. I rigged up a temporary tank just from the fender. I gravity fed the fuel right to the carburetor. Shot at ether. Nothing happened. I like the challenge of trying to get a car going again after it's been sitting idle for so long. Eventually I got the car running. After a couple cranks, I got it going, I got it running. I had to track down a loose wire first. Safety and reliability. Once I got the car on the road, wanted to be safe for myself and others. I didn't want to be a road hazard. Fuel system, ignition system. Went through the wiring system, and went through the cooling system. It was evident from the beginning that the tank was going to have to be dropped and maybe salvageable. It was full of cruddy old kerosene smelling gas that was quite vile. Disposed it properly. I got a new tank and all new hoses, new fuel filters, and a new fuel pump. Running up the carburetor, satisfactory. Things are good on the fuel line. The brakes were just replaced and redone before they put it in the barn, evidently. I could tell by the brand new rotors and pads, drums, and the brake shoes. And they used silicone brake fluid, which was great since it was stored for 31 years. There was coolant inside the engine and it was green, but it was old, so that was going to come out, and I just wanted to be safe. I went ahead and my plan was to change all the hoses out, the heater hoses and the upper lower radiator hose. When I had a radiator out, I could check that out and make sure there's no obvious problems with that. Tires were they were probably 32 years old, and there a lot of tread left, and I put about 40 miles on them. Kind of curious to see how far I can go. Transmission. I went ahead and drained the gear oil out of it and topped it off with some new stuff. It shifts well. Clutch seems fine. So after I got this car on the road, got insurance on it, got it registered and titled, license plate on the back bumper, I feel safe and confident with it. I haven't gone too far, but I put about 300 miles on the car. I think it's tuned up pretty well. It might need a little more tinkering around with, but for the get-go, I'm happy. Because when you fix something, you're satisfied by the fact that I got it going again. Now on to the next thing, which will be a next thing. I think there's something to be said about having a car that's just basic. It's not going to shine, it's not going to show well, but it is what it is. And if it's mechanically sound, it's running well, to me, that's what, at this point, that's what matters the most. A good feeling driving a little English sports car with the top down. You know you ain't got a whole lot of power, but you've got a lot of gumption. There's a lot of fans and loyal enthusiasts out there, a lot of forums, so there's a lot of support and there's reference material. There are lots of parts availability and options for that. There's a lot of these cars that were brought to America, so you'll find other cars sitting in someone's yard or being parted out. Its simplicity makes it kind of a joy to work on. You know, this car kind of reminds me of a go-kart. You know, that smell that oil and the gasoline and a little rubber. So yes, I like the car. It's a keeper.